What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the Wise Take NFL DFS First Look. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I am from, of course, nowhere else but the Wise Take Nation, which you can follow on Twitter at Wise_Take for the latest and greatest on the Wise Take Nation. Get notifications when the content is posted. And also, we run a lot of sales and promotions from there. Make sure you give it a follow. And don't forget to check us out directly at wisetake.com. We are up to week 9 in the NFL. Last week in the NFL, I went way too heavy on Ty Johnson, but Lat Murray was awesome. Most of my other running backs were fine. I had some Chris Carson, he did fine. Ty Johnson hurt. Like every beat writer I read, everybody kind of expected him to start, and then they decided to start Trey Carson, and the splits got out of hand. He still dropped what could have been a touchdown pass. It was overthrown a little bit, but it hit him in the hand. You know my rule in the NFL, but it hits you in the hands, you should have caught it, right? I'm sure anybody who played receiver will tell you that. I never did, but I did play quarterback, and that's what I would always say. But week 8, we got a lot right, man. I know Paulie had Mike Evans in his core. I had Evans as my number one. Mid-tier receiver. I had some Cooper Kupp teams, some Jared Goff teams that did really well with Evans. It really could have made a difference. I still made a little bit of money, but I could have made so much money. Last year, we know, was a really successful year. NFL, the problem with the NFL is you don't have it every day. It's you got to wait once a week. In the NBA, you get a crack at it every day. So that's one of the benefits of that. Baseball, hockey, all those daily sports. The NFL, man. When you miss by that much, it hurts that much more because now you got to wait a full week for things to go down. And there obviously is a lot of variance in the NFL, a lot of injuries. It's a very, it's a collision sport, if you will. That's what they used to say. It's not a contact sport. It's a collision sport. But anyway, we've got an interesting week. We're starting to see teams. The trade deadline is like in a couple hours. It's currently Tuesday, 12:46 p.m. Eastern. So the trade deadline is coming up. It's approaching. We'll have to see what some of these teams do. We saw the Jets have already been selling. They traded away Leonard Williams to the Giants in exchange for a couple of draft picks, like a 3rd and a 5th. So we'll have to see. There's rumors the Jets are trying to move. Real quick, I am a Jet fan. I will say this: if they trade Le'Veon Bell, I'm going to try to organize a boycott for the organization. They made a lot of dumb moves. Le'Veon Bell was not one of them, even though they fired the GM who did make that move and did the draft. It's just wonderful. Anyway, this is not a show about my Jets. But it could become kind of about that game, as you'll find out in a second. Let's go ahead and dig in. Do me a favor before we dig in, actually. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We do a lot of DFS content here for free on the YouTube channel. Subscribe, hit the notifications bell. We cover NBA Monday through Friday slates, pretty much every Monday through Friday slates, unless, some shit's going down or, motherfuckers got to get away or something. That happens. But make sure that you're, following notifications bell. And please like the video, man. The NBA videos have been going for 75. And I think we should hit that on last night's video, a.k.a. today's video on Tuesday. So that's you guys. That's all you guys. So shout out to the nation. Shout out to you guys listening, watching, for doing your part and helping us hit these goals. But with that said, let's get some likes on this one, man. The NFL's been a little slower. NBA's every day. NBA been a little more popular. I think people are kind of fizzling out. NFL, not me, but some people are. So we can get this one to 60. How about that? 60 as a goal for this one. Let's make that a go. All right, it is time. It is time to dig up in here in this NFL slate. So quarterback. So this week I'll start off by saying DraftKings did finally price some of these guys like where we're used to seeing guys priced with their kind of usage. Well, I'll elaborate. Starting off with quarterbacks, Russell Wilson looks like the ideal candidate. Looks like it should be pretty much a slam dunk. Tampa Bay has been a pretty serious run funnel. Last week, Seattle didn't really have to push Wilson. The game got a little closer at the end because Seattle let off, but they didn't push Wilson. Threw the ball 20 times after throwing it 41 times against Baltimore. 33 times against Cleveland. They threw it 20 times. And against the Rams, he threw it 23 times. But number one, he was super efficient with 4 touchdowns. And then you add on the rushing. But Russell Wilson with that rushing floor, that's the good thing about Wilson. 15 is probably his floor. That's probably like what probably, there you go. His worst game of the season was a 14 against Arizona. And once again, a game where his team blew out the other team. So Tampa Bay's offense has been a lot better. They look good against Tennessee. We'll see how they match up against Seattle. Seattle's defense I'm really not afraid of. I know Lamar Jackson kind of struggled a little bit, but there was some weather involved. It's not like the best place to play in general. We saw Jameis start off the game with a couple turnovers and still end up, balling out at some point. So I think this game could be a shootout. And I don't know how many people are going to be able to afford to play Russell Wilson because everybody else is priced up. But he is certainly, if you can find the money to get him, in a good situation. Aaron Rodgers against the Chargers. I'm cool with Rodgers. Rodgers has been playing out of his mind lately. He's getting his receivers back little by little. He's getting some players back. Devontae Adams is questionable. If Adams plays, I like Rodgers a little bit more, obviously. But the Chargers have really struggled to stop the run, man. Their defensive front is just banged up, and teams are just running the ball all over them. So looking at Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams, how they're being used, I think they're both kind of viable, which makes me like Rodgers a little bit less at 6,900. If he was cheap, sure, but he's not cheap anymore. Probably, it's Aaron Rodgers, but Stafford's price coming up, but he's in a good matchup against Oakland, a team that another like pass funnel type defense that has been good against the run, but has been bad against the pass. He's an option. Cousins kind of interesting, but it's hard not to envision Cook being the baller there. We'll talk about that later on. Josh Allen against Washington. We could do it. He can go under the radar this week. I could see it, right? Last week he had some horrible weather. We'll want to check that with Buffalo. Kind of the problem with Buffalo. So that really impacted his upside. We kind of came off him once we were like sold that the weather was really going to be that shitty. We kind of all backed off him. Famous Jameis on the other side of that game, man. He doesn't have the ceiling that these guys have. He's not really a runner. Tell that to Tennessee. 8 rushing attempts for 53 yards. He was running for his life. 3 fumbles, 2 picks, 5 turnovers. That's the Jameis Winston way. But at the end of the day, he did throw 2 touchdowns, threw for over 300 yards. So certainly a viable option. Sam Darnold, the whole Jets were priced up against Miami. That was kind of disappointing because this would be that bounce back spot. Sam Darnold at 5,900, you have to wonder, like, what's his ceiling? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the problem. What's his ceiling? I think that's kind of an issue, but it is a very good matchup against this Miami defense. Darnold has had some pretty good games against Dallas. He looked great, right? 338 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did still throw a pick, but he looked good. That's the only time he's actually looked good. So we'll have to see what's going on with him. I think he's dealing with a sprained thumb. He should play. They're expecting him to play, but I wanted to play more Jets. Le'Veon Bell still looks like an awesome candidate, but running back is pretty crowded this week, and his price is up as well. They priced up all the Jets. Robbie Anderson, Crowder, guys that were in the 4s every week are now in the 5s. And Darnold, who's been in like the mid to low 5s, is now almost 6. It's crazy, but it is the Dolphins. I understand it. We'll see who's left on the Jets team by the time this show ends, I guess. Right? Trade deadline's coming up. So Cam Newton's not going to play. He's only 5,800. I would have been tempted as all hell to play some Cam Newton, but yeah, it looks like he's not going to play. Ron Rivera confirmed Monday that Newton wouldn't be cleared to start Week 9 against the Titans. We've got to make sure he's ready. That's what Rivera said. So the last time I got an update, the last update I got, more so than anything, is he was going through his rehab. We'll see. Right now we're going into this game with Kyle Allen as a starter. So assuming he's the starter, that means no for this guy. Coming down the list, Carson Wentz against the Bears is cheap, but it's not super exciting. If you're looking for a cheap quarterback this week, who is interesting to me? And now this is like when I tell you guys that some of y'all are just gonna turn this shit off. So don't turn it off. Just hear me out for a second. And like this is just a first look show, so I'm gonna use him for this example because you'll see why. Because this is money we gotta spend, and I'm like, we need time to find some of that value that we can rely on. I don't want to just play random shit dudes, but it's not Matt Moore. If you're thinking this Matt Moore, could be a high scoring game type shootout. He didn't look bad against Green Bay. Green Bay's got a really good secondary. He didn't look that bad. So, not a knock on him. But Ryan motherfucking Fitzpatrick. Now, keep in mind, this dude's got bench potential, right? We know that. No doubt there's bench potential. Last year, we saw him ball out in Week 1. Next thing you know, he's benched for Jameis. Then he's back. Then he's benched. And we saw the same thing happen. He was the Week 1 starter. Then we eventually saw him benched for Rosen. Now he's back. Just kind of, you don't really know what's going on. But Fitzpatrick is a serviceable veteran. He's 4,800 on a slate where you may actually need the money if you can't afford Wilson. And again, I'm going to go into that. And he's against the Jets, who have been pretty good against the run. Well, correct. Okay, let me So the Jets have given up a lot of fantasy points to running backs, but that is mostly because of their offense's inability to do anything, right? In games where their offense has sucked, and the one running back who did dice them up and was just like they couldn't stop was Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, come on, that guy's good, right? Team is good, situation's good. But I don't think they're a terrible rushing defense. I do think their secondary, their coverage is suspect, especially guys like Tremaine Johnson, who I think might not even play anyway. But I think the secondary could be beaten. Ryan Fitzpatrick got a little revenge going with him, right? He got a little bit of that revenge for those of you narrative people. In the NFL, we don't really follow narratives a ton, but when it's a quarterback, the guy got a ball in his hands every time. They showed some life against Pittsburgh at short rest, but they are home against the Jets. I think that, I do expect the Jets to put up points because I think Miami's defense sucks. But with that said, the Jets don't really provide a lot of pass rush. Fitzpatrick should have time. And he's still got Devontae Parker and, some of these guys he can use. So 4,800 for Fitzpatrick. Let's just see where this goes, right? We'll call this a tournament lineup, right? Yeah. Going over to running backs, Christian McCaffrey is 10K. Now you're going to see what I'm talking about. Christian McCaffrey is 10K. Christian McCaffrey, his team just got blown the F out. Just destroyed. He's still got 30 DraftKings points because he caught 4 passes for 38 yards. He only had 14 carries, still managed 117 yards with a 40-yard long against one of the best defenses in the league right now. And he got into the end zone again. In cash games, I'm just playing him in. Take going this route, seeing how we're kind of set up. Phenomenal spot. The other thing is Dalvin Cook. The Chiefs have been an extreme run funnel defense. They've been terrible against the run. Aaron Jones just went ham, and Jamal Adams had a good game when they just played on Sunday night. Dalvin Cook got 6 targets against Washington, caught 5 passes, had 23 carries. Dalvin Cook is going to slice these suckers up. That's what it is. He's probably my favorite if I had to pick one because the matchup makes sense. McCaffrey's matchup isn't great. It's just his usage. You're not seeing anybody get his kind of usage. Now, I will say it was a blowout, so he only got 19 touches. But the dude is getting like 25 to 30 on the regular. It's just kind of hard to not want to play him. We have Fitzpatrick in this build, and I think Le'Veon Bell would make sense at 7-7. I know, listen, it's hard to pull the trigger because it's one thing about the offense being bad. The other aspect, he has no offensive line. His quarterback's not opening up shit. Against Dallas, they had an opportunity to really make him have a big game, and they chose to continue to throw the ball, almost allowing Dallas back into that game. Well, they did allow Dallas back into that game. So now there's reports or rumors saying they may try to trade Le'Veon Bell, supposedly. We'll see. That's the rumor. But if he's still here, we'll know by Sunday because the trade deadline is later today. But if he's still here, if they're not going to limit him, if they're going to play him because they're paying him money, giving him guaranteed money, you might as well play the dude. 7-7, getting a price hike. I think his ownership would be low because he hasn't really had a good game outside of weeks 1 and 2. But this could be the week. It's Miami, and he would kind of fit this build, I think, with Ryan Fitzpatrick, right? You figure the Jets are playing for head. If you wanted to go full on game stack, you bring one more Jets receiver, maybe Anderson, who's going to be playing home in Liberty City. We'll talk about that later. Oh, in Florida, Miami, whatever. But yeah, realistically, if you can afford McCaffrey, which we're going to try, you just get McCaffrey. I'm going to take a defense that's like, we'll go with the Vikings with Dalvin Cook, 2,700. It's the Chiefs offense. You don't never like doing that, but hey, it's Matt Moore, right? I think it should be Matt Moore. Mahomes is doubtful. I kind of breezed over that, but Mahomes is doubtful. So we'll see. Dislocated kneecap. If he plays, I'll probably bail on that. Maybe not. We'll see. I don't know. Do you know? I don't know. Going back to it, Aaron Jones, I mentioned, is in a phenomenal spot. I kind of skipped over this. Nick Chubb is getting awesome usage. I would like to see him involved in the pass game a little more consistently, but Denver's defense is playing really good, though. Going into altitude, coming off a tough game against the Patriots. Chubb is always fine for tournaments because he's another one of those guys getting a ton of usage. I'm not thrilled with Carson. I think I do prefer Russ Wilson or one of the passing options if possible, the receivers or whatever. Aaron Jones, though, yes. I'm interested in Aaron Jones for show. Aaron Jones and Jamal Adams, that's kind of the problem. So I think like you approach it with like split exposure. Say you have, If you're gonna have 20% Jones, have like 15% Adams or Williams. I'm sorry, maybe 10% Williams, something. But like you're gonna want some exposure to both because one, injuries, number two, they do kind of split things, and it's possible they both have a good game and a good matchup like they did against Kansas City. You can see 18. Maybe 18 is not good enough at 5'9". That could be an issue. Austin Eckler and Melvin Gordon. Where are these guys at? Melvin Gordon is 5K. He is 5K. He only touched the ball 8 times, or he only carried the ball 8 times. Oh my gosh. Melvin Gordon is 5K. That's insane. Eckler, 6K. See, this is a unique situation. So Eckler, we expect to get more pass carries. More pass attempts. One thing that's been consistent is Eckler is getting a lot of the pass work, and Melvin Gordon is getting like the rushing attempts usually, depending on the game script if it allows for it. Against the Packers, I don't quite know if the game script will allow for it, but I do know the Packers do struggle to stop the run. They have all year. The Cowboys probably could have won that game against the Packers if they didn't abandon the run and try to force throwing against their good secondary. Gordon at 5K is pretty wild for the touchdown equity that he represents. If you remember, I know this year he had the holdout. The Chargers haven't been good. It's been disappointing. But last year, every time they got in the red zone, he was just, he had so many touchdowns. That's what made him such a great play every week. The price just seems crazy low. He's in territory with Madison, who basically is getting blowout run for the most part. Ty Johnson, who is not even starting, even with their starting running back out, he's just in weird territory. Singletary, who's been playing well, don't get me wrong, I'm just saying. That seems too cheap. I think I gotta grab that. I'm gonna go back and grab him in a second, but to keep talking about a slate there, and the same thing with Gordon, Eckler. Matter of fact, they're both cheap enough to where if you weren't paying up for running back, you probably could play both. You're sacrificing ceiling. It's hard to envision them going for like 40 and 25 or something. But Jordan's just went for 44, and Williams just put up 18. That was against the Chiefs, which is why I like Dalvin Cook so much. But Carolina, if you saw last week, Coleman put it to these guys, man. Carolina is bad against the run. I'm talking about the wrong guy, I think. I'm looking at Derrick Henry's fucking shit, and I'm talking to you guys about Eckler and Gordon. I can't get over that. The prices are too low. I like them. We'll see if I like them come Sunday. We have to check the Core Plays article in the Y stream on Saturday or whatever. For Friday night, we're doing a Y stream instead. We're doing it Friday this week. I'm traveling Saturday. But yeah, Derrick Henry, who I had open because I meant to talk about. He's getting, he's not getting a lot of pass rate. It's not him. But he is getting the carries, the touches. He's been running the ball well. In Carolina, we saw this get sliced up on the run. So it's interesting. But I'm going to, one trendy thing, I think somebody that become trendy is the Miami running back situation. I'm okay with it. And I'm not going to do it in this build because we got Fitzpatrick. So I'm looking at the pass catchers. But it's okay. Like Walton, you want to take a shot. The Jets defense is, like, they just traded away Leonard Williams. CJ Mosley's going to be out for a while. So you can. They said that Bellagio was going to start, and then they gave 11 carries to Walton. I didn't see the game. I was watching basketball. But anyway, dirties are done, then dirties are done. That's it. Tyreek Cohen's really cheap, but not all that involved, right? Yeah, seventh. I'm going to go with Gordon. Let's see what I can put. Now, Gordon, ideally, I could fit McCaffrey in here, but if I can't, I will go Bell. I'm just going to try to see what I can do with McCaffrey. Wide receivers. So the guys up top are certainly in play. Thielen's questionable. I can get down with him in a slot. He's expensive, though. Kenny Golladay. And if Mahomes is in, that game's got serious shootout potential. With Mahomes out, it could. The Green Bay Packer game kind of shot out, but I think Minnesota's defense, while the Packers secondary is good, I think Minnesota's defense is a little more balanced. So then again, Kansas City's home, so we'll see. It's just when you like Dalvin Cook so much, it's hard to really like Diggs and Thielen. I'm sure I'll get some just because I'm going to be so heavy on Cook. I'll need some like hedge situations, Tyler Lockett, 7,500 against Tampa. Seems like a pretty good spot for him. Ceiling has kind of been an issue for me with Lockett, but floor has been solid. He only really ceilinged out once, but his floor has been pretty solid. And if you like Russell Wilson, but you can't afford him, maybe you can get some exposure to the pass game by going to Tyler Lockett. But what I mean by, like, if you look at the targets, right, like the first 2 weeks, 14, 12. Like these are some of the targets that big time receivers getting. He's only getting like 5, 6, 7 lately, but he's been efficient with those targets, and they're pretty deep most of the time, so he's getting that 100, bonus. Tyreek Hill 7,400. The targets have been there, solid floor, but if you look, like, you're just worried about ceiling unless Mahomes is there. Chris Godwin, probably his turn. These guys seem to be rotating with massive upside. They're doing dirties on the reg. I do like Chris Godwin and Evans. I think I like Godwin a little bit more in the slot against Seattle, but I like them both. They are expensive, though. I don't know if we'll be able to. If I'm playing these two running backs, I'm not going to be able to afford too many of these expensive guys. Let's see. Allen Robinson against Philly. We know this is a pass funnel team, right? You kind of feel like maybe you want your exposure to these guys that you can get the value, right? Because Robinson's getting the targets, but there are other players in this situation who could get some pass work volume that are cheaper. Odell Beckham's just going to stay at 6,600, and it's not even a thing anymore because he's just not doing anything with it. Maybe this is the week against Denver in the altitude. I don't know. Keenan Allen, if you're not playing Gordon, if you're not playing Eckler, Keenan Allen's only 6,400. Double-digit targets last 2 games. Tough matchup, though. Green Bay's, but he's cheap, man. He's cheap. McLaurin, man, nobody's playing this dude, and he just does dirties and, does dirties on the reg. John Brown would probably be, if you're playing Josh Allen, got to play Josh Brown. That's just the connection. That's just it. If there wasn't no weather last week, he probably would have had a monster week. I don't have Le'Veon Bell in this build, so now I'm at a point now. I'm sitting here looking at Robbie Anderson and Crowder from the Jets. They're both just priced up. If I'm going to overpay, I think I'd rather overpay for Le'Veon Bell. But for the sake of this example, I'm going to go with I'll go with Robbie Anderson. And if I have money to come off, if I end up not being able to use McCaffrey, I'll go down to Bell and I'll maybe moves to someone else, but I'm not necessarily seeing anybody I'm in love with either. Metcalf finally had a really big game. 2 touchdowns. It wasn't even that big of a game though. 13 yards. He just got 2 touchdowns. Continues to be a disappointing situation. We got Scantling here. Not really doing a ton. I think. You know who's back? Sammy Watkins is back. 8 targets against Green Bay. 45 yards. I can get behind that. I can get behind Watkins. He's so cheap, right? He's so cheap. I'm going to grab that anyway. Amendola's been getting targeted like a motherfucker. That's fucking 11. I don't know why I just said that, but you know what I'm saying. 11 targets against Minnesota. 8 targets against the Giants. Against Minnesota. Interesting. Oops. Who's playing a slot there? Who's playing a slot here? We'll have to see. Anyway, you can see we're getting tight on funds. We are suffering from a disease called Funzalo. How could I forget, right? Like I played Fitzpatrick for a reason. The Miami value situation. 4-4 for Devontae Parker, who's gotten 10 and 8 targets on the road in tough matchups. Both of these defenses, the Bills and Pittsburgh, are both pretty good. Not giving you bad returns at all. Right? We know that this guy, like Fitzpatrick, likes to throw the ball down the field. I think 4-4 is for this build is perfect, and you can see that's how I'm going to be able to afford this. If you don't want it, Preston Williams, who everybody's been saying for all season, his targets ain't going to continue. Through both quarterbacks, they've pretty much continued, and he's also getting pass game work. I think the triple stack, that might be what we do here. Let's go with Parker, get that triple stack action. Now, Wilson is also back. He's got some explosive upside if you really wanted the value, but the volume, he's just not really a high volume player, but he does have massive upside for big play potential. So we've removed Sammy Watkins for now, right? I could play him over Anderson at this particular point because that was why I wanted Fitzpatrick, because the triple stack was going to be cheap and I knew I could afford the studs I wanted. You know what I'm saying? It all comes together. Tight ends. And there's other guys. We could talk about the Bears value. There's other guys for value we could talk about, but we're not going to sit there all day, right? We'll have to dig in on some of that stuff. Tight ends. So Kelsey is 6,900 because he's the new Gronk. Kelsey's been a little disappointing in general this year, but he's been all right. Not 6,900 all right for a tight end, but all right. Darren Waller continues to get that receiver type work. Only had 8 targets, only caught 2 against Houston. That was a tough matchup. Still got a touchdown. This is what he does. Zach Ertz, man, wow. Oh, I skipped over Hunter Henry, who is probably a solid option for a bounce back. 6K is kind of expensive, but I do like Hunter Henry. Phillip Rivers likes having him back. It's very clear. Hunter Henry is certainly a viable option. Zach Ertz, though, 4,700. Man, what is going on? My dude's just not even getting the love anymore. That was a tough matchup. Another tough matchup this week, but he's been super disappointing this week. 4,700, though, for Zach Ertz is just insane. Man. Jimmy Graham, 4,300. Jimmy Graham just sucks. That's his problem, right? He just sucks. Not really. Chris Herndon, if he comes back, I'm a little upset. They even priced his ass up. But if he comes back, that could be an interesting situation. And it could also get us, if we didn't want Robbie Anderson, which I'm fine with Anderson with that narrative, but I'm just saying. It's optional. Let's see. We got, if Delaney Walker plays, he's an option. But nothing terribly exciting. Tight end's not that great. I'm not really going crazy about it. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, it was a lot easier to afford McCaffrey than I thought it was going to be with this build. But that is the reason I knew McCaffrey and Cook were on this slate and they were expensive. I wanted them both. So that is one of the reasons that I decided to go with Fitz in this particular situation. And the Jets defense is probably just as much in play. There's no doubt. I'm not denying that. Jonnu Smith got 7 targets last week with Delaney Walker out against Tampa Bay. Just saying. We'll have to see if Walker's back, though. But if Walker's back, maybe it's him. Just saying. What else we got? Hawkinson, 1 target last week. Phenomenal. The Ebron stuff, like the Ebron Doyle situation, like if you're looking for a punt, those guys are always options. Greg Olsen only got 2 targets against San Francisco. That was a really tough matchup. 35 is probably, he's been pretty bad too. But we know he's got upside, more so with Cam, I think. Or when they're just playing the Cardinals because they just are terrible. This guy had a big-ass game. Griffin, man. Look at that. 4 for 4. That's why I think Herndon's an option. I wouldn't go back to him again, though. Is OJ Howard? We don't know if he's out. Okay, he's a limited. Okay, no, that was last week. We don't know if Howard is out again. It's a hamstring. If he's out again, I could roll with Brate. Brate got 6 targets against Tennessee. That was a tough matchup. Seattle maybe has a little bit more success. They're on the road. 6 targets for Brate. That's not bad for 3,100. And obviously Goddard, man, he's kind of taken over Ertz's role. Like, how could you pay for Ertz when you're getting some of the same numbers? He doesn't have the ceiling Ertz has, no doubt, but just saying. I'm going to go with Brate for now. So now we got some money. We can do some upgrades here. We got $800 on the table. Do I come off of Gordon? I still can't reach Eckler, I don't think. I think I'm 100 off from Eckler. No, I'm a little more than that. 200 off from Eckler. So we could upgrade him to Henry. I still think it's hard to pass up on the 5K. I guess Robbie Anderson I would upgrade or upgrade, PJ Williams I could probably upgrade to Sammy Watkins if I wanted to go there. We could upgrade the defense if we wanted to. We could do some stuff. If I wanted to come off Anderson, what would it be for? Juju McLaurin, John Brown I could do. He's got some upside. But I feel like, I don't know, man. I guess I would do this. I guess for now we'll do this. Like I want the triple stack, but I'll just do this for now. But anyway, guys, that's a little quick run. Pretty solid slate. I'm kind of into it. We'll have to see how things shape out. We'll do the DFS podcast with we got our boy Matt Schreiber, aka Matty Ice, aka Schreiber Beezy, coming on with Patio Joe and myself. So that'll be tomorrow night. Wednesday night we will talk about this slate after we dig in a little bit more. But for a first look, I thought it was pretty good, pretty interesting. We'll have to see how things go down. But there's guys priced up, but there's also guys priced down. So there's some wiggle room, some things we can do. With that said, guys, don't forget to check us out at whitestick.com for more fire DFS content. We are a DFS premium content provider, but we're also a DFS community. Our goal is to help make you a better player. We don't give lineups. We don't sell lineups. It's not about that, right? It's not good for the industry. It's about making you a better player so you can be more successful, so you play more, so the industry thrives and more people play, because it is a fun sport, and it's a way that, you know, people can really make some money and have a good time with it. So go check us out, yslate.com. We have week passes available if you want to try it out for a week. NFL, I think it's $7.99 for 1 week of NFL content. We got day passes for other sports. NBA is only $2.50 for a day. We have articles that will help you out with. We got a FanDuel breakdown, Patio Joe writes, that's usually out by Saturday night, Sunday morning. Paulie D on the DraftKings breakdown, Saturday night, Sunday morning. I do a GPP note article where I go over my core for that week. Cam does the cheat sheet for those of you that are in a rush and just want to pick, or does you just want Cam's plays because he's, you know, pretty good. And we do a live show. It's going to be Friday night this week. Me and Paulie breaking down the NFL slate after we've kind of done our research. And then, of course, we'll be in the Slack chat Sunday morning just waiting for those injury information to break out and be ready to react. So go check us out, yslate.com. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that goodness. And tell me, I want to know, McCaffrey or Cook, if you had to pick only one. I think most of us want both, I know. But if you had to pick one, McCaffrey or Cook, who is it? I want to know from you. Leave it in the comments, whatever you're watching this on. That's going to do it for myself, the entire White Steak Nation. As always, good luck.
Yeah.